We are live. Greetings and welcome to Rice Crypto. On today's live stream, it's been about a month since I've actually live streamed. I am joined by Jordan from Waters Above. I got a link down below in the video description for the playlist with all of his previous appearances. He is joining me today for the 6th time. Smash that like button. Give me a 5x5. We are live streaming on YouTube and Rumble. Gonna get things started in just moments. Share this out. All right, as always, before we begin, a few quick messages from the sponsors of Rice Crypto, Rice TVX. You can find information in the video description for Presearch, the decentralized search engine for we the people with AI that rewards, and also Monarch Wallet, a decentralized wallet that you possess and control your private key. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for tuning in. I'm about to bring in Jordan in just 1 second, but I've got a channel promo that I want to share with you right now. Don't forget to visit ricetvx.com, where you can watch both of my YouTube channels, Rice Crypto and Rice Against the Grain, directly. Find all of my social media links, sign up for my mailing list, and become a member of Rice Uncensored, where you can join me on the private side for less than $0.25 a day. You will get early access to both Rice Crypto and Rice Against the Grain, ad-free, unedited videos, exclusive content, members-only forum with direct access to me, live streams, and more to come, only at ricetvx.com. Only at ricetvx.com. Today, I am joined by Jordan from Waters Above for the 6th time. What's going on, Jordan?
No, I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Doing muy excelente, and I'm glad to have you on the show. I'm definitely looking forward to kind of getting your thoughts as to what's going to be going on in 2024. I think we got a lot of things, a lot of interesting things up on the horizon. Before we get into all that stuff, what I do want to encourage people to do is, if you're not familiar and you haven't seen the previous conversations that I've done with Jordan from Waters Above, I got a playlist in the video description. I'll put it in the pinned comment. I'm also going to have a link so you guys can check out his website. He offers different courses, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. We usually do that at the end, but I want to do that at the beginning this time. And then also we have his YouTube channel. You guys can check this out. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not subscribed. One of my favorite channels. I love the idea of taking traditional technical analysis and combining it with the esoteric, with astrology, numerology, and gematria. So before we begin, Jordan, do you mind sharing what it is that you offer over on your website with your courses?
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate that. Essentially, the whole, mission statement behind what I'm doing is to make everyone a self-reliant investor. And that's the whole, vision I have. Because when I first got started in this game, I felt very reliant on other people and just was always confused about what was happening, whether that was about from a perspective of investing or what, cryptos to be focusing on, or what, I should be doing with excess profits that I make from my business or whatever. And, I really wanted to design something that could answer those questions for the person and have it be more about that instead of somebody just following along my work, So if that resonates with you and you're more interested in cryptocurrency and investing, I have my crypto mastermind course. It's a beginner level. course designed for people that have no idea about crypto, but maybe they're interested in it. And this is good timing because we're moving into a bull run. I believe the charts are speaking for itself with Bitcoin breaking above 40,000 and everyone's starting to get excited about it again. And just to let people know, we have a lot of time before this really gets exciting. I'm looking for about next year around this time. So you have about a full year to really get educated on this space and be aware of it and prepare. And then my other course that I have that's completely different from this is just the expansion mastermind. And that's for people that come to my work and they like what we talk about that isn't revolving around finances. And anyone could go over to my website, watersabove.com, and check out what else I'm offering. But those are the two main courses I have right now that are different from each other. And then, believe it or not, I'm trying to squeeze in a brand new product for the year, which is
Really?
going to be my decoding mastermind. And I'm not sure. I don't want to give any time horizon on that because I have a feeling it might put pressure on me. But I am a professional decoder, and I utilize gematria, numerology, and astrology for decoding the markets and decoding what's happening on the world stage. And I get so many questions from people about, you know, how do I use this stuff, or what is gematria, or what is numerology, and how do I utilize it? So again, I'm designing it so that it has utility where you can take what I'm teaching you, beginner friendly stuff, and then you could apply it on your own for the things you're interested in, whether you're interested in sports or, you know, I don't know what else, lottery. People hitting me up all the time being like, "Can you decode, what's going on?" And I'm like, "Well,
So you can
that
get lottery numbers?
I mean, you can
Is
really
that
do
what
whatever."
people are asking you that
I
though?
get that all the time. I get that all the
Wow.
time. I get it. I get the question from people that are like, Waters, I'm looking to start a new business. I want to launch this product on this date. How do you feel about this date? And I get those questions so much. So I'm like, this will finally be something that could be answering the questions for you. And then you could take it and resonate with it how you wish. And also for people that are interested in stuff like astrology already, whether you're into tropical or sidereal Vedic, whatever's going on there, you might be kind of curious as to where the origin of all of this stuff comes from, and I see this quite often that people get into astrology, reading charts, and even doing readings for people at a professional level. But when the questions go deeper, they really don't understand the origins of all this astrology stuff. And it comes back to mythology. And these mythologies get quite confusing sometimes as well because there's so much overlap. So I've taken the past 3 years of communicating with this huge audience and gathering your frequently asked questions so that I could design something that's super user friendly and that by the first chapter, you're going to be able to walk away with like 10x more value than you ever have before by just watching, a standard reading or somebody talking about astrology or even a gematria video.
I love it, dude. I love it. And yeah, really for people that may be new to your work and interested in what we're going to be talking about, check out the very first conversation that Jordan and I had together, because that's where you kind of explained to me, somebody who really didn't. I've never heard of anybody combining these esoteric tools, is what I refer to them as, that you're adding into
Yeah.
the technical analysis. And so you explained very thoroughly what gematria was, numerology, and astrology, and how you use the three along with technical analysis. So I definitely encourage people to check that first conversation out. Now, something you just mentioned that I wanted to kind of, I guess, is a great way to start the conversation off is you said you feel as if we are getting into a bull run. We have a Bitcoin breaking 40K. If you look at past cycles, just based on the past, which so far it doesn't exactly repeat, but it rhymes. We aren't in a position in the cycle where we should be in a bull market. I feel like we're in a bull rally and a bear market still. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective. I
Because
mean,
we're
for
kind of
me,
on that cusp. I'm sorry.
oh no, it's okay. I mean, to be completely honest, from a technical perspective, if you'd like, I could bring up a chart and I could kind of show the audience what makes me feel like we're in a bull run.
Yeah, feel
Um,
free.
and one thing that's important here is to realize that when we're when we're talking about this, we're trying to get in as early as possible because when most people call it a bull run, it's already too late, right?
Right. Yeah,
So I'm very cautious about these kind of things, and it's important that we always are clear about our language that we're using. Can you see my chart?
I can. And I'm pulling it
Beautiful.
up.
Okay, so I'm going
Now,
to full screen this.
as you're doing that, as you're full screening it, I wanted to add that we don't see this kind of price action happen like this before a Bitcoin halving. We have the next halving coming up mid to late April, based off the block bitcoinblockhalf.com, which I'll link down below. We're looking at estimated April 23rd. And then 15 days, I guess, 13, 15, something like that. We have that total eclipse. So we'll get into all that, but
Yeah.
go ahead and take over, my friend. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'll keep it super simple. And one thing to build off of what you said before, like, yeah, we actually do see this kind of price action before halving. We saw it in the last cycle. We saw it in the last cycle when Bitcoin did this. It moved up into July 2019 within all-time highs, as you can see. And then the halving was over here in May of 2020. So we're pretty much on track. I would actually like to start there. Like, we have all-time high in December, 1 year later, all-time low. Then we have this crazy relief rally, just a parabolic rally, which got within all-time highs, and that was a bull trap. So I agree with you. I do think we're in a bull trap. I do think we're in a sucker's rally, like where people started FOMOing in recently in the past week, and that's what's made this energy like this. But anyways, I'll break it down step by step for everyone to kind of get the people that are brand new to all of this, fully aware and squared away, and then kind of tell you what my time projections are for this whole move. Needless to say, we are nearing the end of what I believe is a bull trap, and I think we could extend out in this bull trap somewhere into 50,000, potentially even as high as 55 to 56. And I know that sounds very dramatic, but it's just based on prior iterations of this same cyclical move that we have in Bitcoin. And it's happening every cycle. Let me show you really quickly what I mean. And if you have any questions along the way, feel free to slow me down and chime in.
Oh, most definitely. I promise you I will.
Yeah, so right here, I have every cycle mapped out in great detail. It might seem a little messy, but I'll break it down for everyone. So over here at the bottom, you're going to see this called solar cycle. And then I have every eclipse numbered afterwards. So for people who are new to my work, I utilize solar and lunar cycles to determine when Bitcoin is in a bull run or bear market. And then as we consider moving through a solar cycle, we have an important pivot point on every following solar eclipse. When we're in a lunar cycle is when Bitcoin is typically in what we call a bear market, and every lunar eclipse typically marks a very dramatic volatile move for the crypto market as a whole to the downside. And that was proven in our last cycle that we just went through recently. We had our lunar cycle start right here in May of 2021 that effectively ended the bull run across the board for the alts, especially. Bitcoin did do this move over here, but it was very isolated to Bitcoin. And it has something to do with Q4, which is always kind of the case for Bitcoin. But I don't want this to confuse people. Right here marked the end of the total crypto bull run being over. All the altcoins across the board pretty much started making lower highs and lower lows after that point, which is what pushes us into what we call a bear market. Then we have over here a big correction, which was the failure of Terra Luna, depegging of their stablecoin. We saw what happened with Do Kwon. And then over here, we had what happened with FTX and BlockFi and Celsius and pretty much everyone else. So those were lunar eclipses during a lunar cycle. And then as of this moment right here of April 20th of 2023, we've effectively moved into a solar cycle. So I want you to see how from the bottom of our bear market into the first solar eclipse, we rally. Now going over here, this is from the bottom of our prior bear market to the solar eclipse, perfect rally, okay? And then we hold higher lows moving forward, which is crucial because this marks the bottom. As we're in a solar cycle, we do not get lower lows than whatever our cycle low is. So for the people that are screaming, from the mountaintop saying that Bitcoin's going to 12K or 10K or whatever, there's never been a time where Bitcoin's ever done that. So if it was to do that again, that would be a black swan, or that would be just something that is completely unheard of. Now, I don't want to debate or argue those people. That's their analysis, but that's not my analysis. Did you have a question?
No, I'm just kind of listening along.
Okay. Yeah, so I want to like recap what you mentioned about how Bitcoin doesn't do this before halvings, and it typically actually does. We could see that our halving is marked right there in May of 2020. We have this relief rally, this crazy rally. Like it's absolutely parabolic. Here you have your halving, and Bitcoin moved up into perfectly into the same level right around that moment. And then over here, you have us coming into this same area from the beginning. You have this coming into the same area and getting rejected before the halving. And that's what kind of I want to start with. Okay. We have a Fibonacci retracement tool, which is from this prior 2011 swing high down to the swing low. And you can see us gravitate into this golden pocket area. So this would be the 618 to 786 rejection and then sideways. Okay. Then over here, we're going to go to this cycle where we have a Fibonacci retracement pulled from the swing high to the swing low over here. You can see us move into the top of the golden pocket, rejection, sideways. Then you have over here, same thing. We get to, so we have our swing high to swing low. We get to the golden pocket, rejection, down. And then this one was really a special cycle because we had this black swan event of C19, global pandemic. So what we're seeing right now is that we've effectively, I'm sorry to get that in the
Now,
way, but we've effectively moved perfectly into the golden pocket. So we have from the swing high to the swing low over here, and Bitcoin is testing smack in the center of this range. And what we've seen in every iteration, I'm going to give you even more details now. When we make this move, closing inside of the golden pocket up to the top, it's about a 40% move. You could see that right there, 40%. And then this led to a very dramatic pullback, 50% instantly. Then we're going to go over here. We're going to go to where it closes on the first daily inside of the golden pocket. We're going to go up to the top, and you can see 39%, pretty much 40%. And then right after, huge pullback.
wow.
All right. I'm going to go to the next cycle. We're going to see that once we close the daily, well, I'll measure off the daily. That's actually better. And you can see 44%. So in 3 cycles spread apart, we have a 40% move, which then instantly leads to a pretty dramatic correction, at least 30% within 1 week after it tops out every single time. So if I consider the data, and I go from the bottom of the golden pocket, or I'll just be fair and go from the closure that got us into this technical level, and I go up 38%. I should probably extend this out a little bit, but you're going to see why this kind of is considered to go a little bit over 50,000. So at 38%, we have a 53K move. And at 45%, which is the extreme in the data, you have a move to about 57, 56K Bitcoin, was which I said earlier. Now, for me, I would never de-risk at tops. I would have my personal limit order set a little bit lower. And the technical level that you always want to consider is the top of the golden pocket, the 786 fib. So yeah, that gives you pretty much proof of how Bitcoin moves around this time in the cycle. What we're more than likely to do next is fulfill this move and then have a sharp correction to the downside, about 30 to 40, even maybe 50% if it wants to get crazy. But we're talking wicks here. We're talking quick buybacks. And I think that because we're moving into this ETF approval zone in regarding the time frame of all of this, it makes total sense to me that we're having speculation buying in on this rumor, and that it'll be a sell the news, and then we'll be sideways and boring for about 150 days. And this is why I'm telling people, when we started off today, don't FOMO in right now. Don't feel like you're late. Like, we have plenty of time. And I agree with what Rice said 1,000,000%. We're in a bull trap right now. We're in this moment where a lot of people are going to start FOMOing in. Let me take all this noise off so you can see very clearly. A lot of people start FOMOing in at these levels, at these overextended levels in the rally over here. And what they don't see is this, when we zoom in, led to a 40% correction. And it also took about 180 days to get higher than that level. So don't FOMO.
Well,
Relax.
interestingly, somebody else that I like to watch that's just based completely on technicals is a guy named Eric Crown. And I saw a video that he had put out. He's in Finland, so he puts them out like his daytime is our nighttime. Anyways, he was talking about a potential 40% correction. which makes sense from, from a pullback from where we're at now. You're talking about we could potentially see 50 to 56K before we start to break down into that. And we're not saying it's going to be 40%, but based off of what you've shown, it's basically, it explains that cycles don't repeat, but they rhyme, because 39, 40, and 44% are all right there within the same area.
Sure.
So,
Absolutely.
so that makes sense for the pullback. Now, when are you kind of, just based off of the chart information that you have, because we have the total solar eclipse happening April 8th, the Bitcoin halving between now, today, and kind of, I guess, end of April. When are you seeing this bull trap coming to a close, us hitting that potential price range? What kind of time frame of hitting the 50 to 56K, and then what kind of time frame for a potential 40% pullback?
Yep. So it's all probably going to happen.
Financial advice.
Totally. It's all going to probably happen next week. So let me show you. Once we get into this golden pocket, once we start interacting with it, you have 15 days till the top. All right. Now let's go over here and show. I'm not sure why this went away.
What happened? All your stuff disappeared?
1 second.
No problem.
All right. So once we start interacting with the golden pocket over here, you could see about 14, 15 days. So that's 2 cycles in a row. We did the same thing. Here, we're going to see it happen fast. It took about 5 days from getting into the top. So let's look at our cycle today and what we're dealing with. We are on day 5. And we know that we could extend up to 15. So that would be bringing us to December 17th, next weekend.
Okay, so that we have all, all the speculation of Santa Claus rallies. A lot of people have said that traditionally when October and November close green, that generally December is a fairly good month. I was kind of thinking, because I think a lot of the reality of where we're at with the financial system is going to set in a little bit more after the holidays, because I figure a lot of the news and a lot of the real information is being delayed just so people can have nice holidays. And then once we get past New Year's, it's going to be like, not shit hitting the fan, but I think that reality is going to set in a lot more. That's why I was kind of thinking it wouldn't be until maybe potentially January, which would put us right in the timeline of where people are expecting the approval of the Bitcoin spot ETF between January 5th and January 10th because of the ARK Invest final deadline. So,
yeah, I mean, the thing is here though, is that remember all back here was like fake news regarding the ETF approval. Like every week we were hit with something new. That
or
was like,
Cointelegraph's actual fake article.
Yeah.
Where they said it was approved or something to that effect, and price just went out like, I think it was like a 10% increase. Just saw the news, maybe even higher.
Correct. So yeah, I'm when I think about this ETF, I'm very it's very exoteric. Like it has what we're dealing with here with my work is we're diving a little bit deeper into things. And for me, it has a lot to do with the new moon. I believe we've talked about this a lot on prior interviews, but we have a new moon on December 12th. And we also have Mercury stationing retrograde. So and now I know this could get very woo-woo for people, but I could bring up another chart and I could show you how Bitcoin interacts with Mercury retrograde. All right.
As you're doing that, I also want to tell you, in case you don't know, that because it seems like when we connect, it's like really close to a Federal Reserve FOMC meeting.
Correct. It's the same day as the next
FOMC.
Yeah,
it starts on the 12th, and the announcement takes place on the 13th, next Wednesday.
Exactly. And that's when Mercury stationary retrograde. And remember, Mercury
it's like
Wednesday.
We live in a fucking simulation, Jordan.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah. And then people come across my work and they're like, well, the dots are finally connecting. Like you finally have now you can see why the market does what it does. And that's the beauty of it. It could keep you more calm and relaxed because you just know now. But getting back to this, all these red boxes are when Mercury is retrograde. Okay. Then after leaving that box, it stations direct. But I just want to show you that pretty much every time we have a top before we go retrograde. So we have a top, big correction into Mercury retrograde. top, big correction into Mercury retrograde. Technically top, big correction into Mercury retrograde. And then even in your solar cycle, top before Mercury retrograde downtrend, top downtrend into Mercury retrograde neutral. You see, it's a pattern. All right. So what we're seeing is we top out before going retrograde, top out before going retrograde, top out before going retrograde, and it keeps happening every single time. Top out Mercury retrograde. I just want people to be aware of this because it makes sense that if this move is going to finish off, it's either going to be in the middle of Mercury retrograde because we get somewhat of like a Twin Towers candle like this, where we have just a 1 day move up, and then we have 48 hours of massive correction. Like we see this right here. So for people that are confused, you see this move, we go neutral and then just a fake out. Neutral, fake out, and it has this structure during Mercury retrograde. We see this a lot, actually. One of the most classic moments when I was creating my crypto mastermind course was this one right here, where we had this crown top distribution. We went bullish into it, grinded sideways, and this was the fake out. Because breaking structure, traders go long, and that's stupid. You want to go long when we're fucking oversold, not when we're already heated up. So traders just do stupid
people obviously
shit
do the most people mainstream always do the opposite.
Correct. And that's what that's another thing to add to my work is we always consider where the full moon is, because the full moon is typically a good point to consider building long positions. But we're not getting into trading advice here. It's just a theoretical thing that works out most of the time. So getting back to this, we had that Mercury retrograde analysis to add even more weight to the odds of this move finishing sooner than later or more than likely. And January is not really in my mind except for some isolated projects, because this has to do with Bitcoin dominance rebalancing. So if Bitcoin does really want to rage to the upside and go to 50K and then have a 30% correction down below 40K again, well, then we're going to have Bitcoin dominance stabilize. And right now it's, 55 yesterday? Yeah. So it's 55 yesterday. It's cratering today. But it is what it is. Everything needs to balance. That's why if you look at Bitcoin dominance, we keep having this sort of stair-step move back testing on this major trend line. It's been going on the entire year. I hope this all makes sense for people.
CoinGecko is saying 50.6% dominance, and CoinMarketCap is saying 53%, because CoinMarketCap lists less coins than, so anywhere between 50 and 53%. So he has pulled back
whatever you want to use, just make sure you look at the chart and you look at the trend. It doesn't matter the specifics. It's all about the trend.
It's really interesting. You said now the Mercury retrograde starts on the 12th of December.
I believe it's exactly on the 13th, but like those who do sidereal that are looking at, different types of charts, you're going to get different data for sure.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing is Jerome Powell, he came out and said at some point, I think it was in the summertime, end of summer, that there's going to be one more rate hike, and we've been in pause since then. And this is the last FOMC meeting of the year. So the question is, are they going to raise interest rates or not? Are they going to continue pausing? I think that raising the interest rates, even just a tiny bit, 0.25%, is going to end up affecting the markets negatively, and that would fall in line, because I feel like there's going to have to be something, not a black swan event, but just some bad news that's going to help trigger that up to 40% pullback. Well, and the FOMC meeting being on the 13th feels like perfect timing, like a perfect.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And remember the speed of that pullback. It takes only a week. So what we could have on Bitcoin, to give you just clear, transparent numbers, from the time this interview releases until like next Tuesday, we could see Bitcoin go up to 50. And then by the end of this FOMC shenanigans, by Thursday, this time next week, we could see Bitcoin go below 40K. And then before the end of the year, still in the month of December, we could be back above 40K. That's how it's going to go, most likely, because this is how this time.
By the end of December, you're saying?
Yeah, we could literally be holding 40K as a support moving into the year of 2024.
After the possible potential up to 40% or more correction.
Right. So it would look like this: move up to 50, go below 40, come back up to 40. stay
Okay.
sideways.
When
And
are we
that
seeing that?
sideways can last for a long time, by the way. Like Bitcoin can chop below the current high in the structure for 140 to 180 days. That's 6 months out. So whatever the top is, it would be a local top bull trap that would be most likely not broken until we get through like Gemini season 2024, maybe like into July. That'll
Okay.
make room for altcoins to catch up though, because a lot of altcoins are down 95 to 99%. And if Bitcoin was to stall out and hold 40K and stay in that structure, what does that do? That sends all this excess liquidity and it'll balance out all these very oversold coins, such as XRP. I think XRP is a good, contender for this post Bitcoin rally liquidity injection.
Yeah, I've noticed that you've been covering XRP a lot, and I definitely want to kind of get to the XRP area. OK was commenting saying, I think he meant lunar cycles. Is that really a thing? And yes, the saying is that, and I'm paraphrasing it, but millionaires don't use astrologers, billionaires do. Because of the things that we're seeing here, the repetition, the rhyming of being similar but not the same. I think it's really intriguing, and for people that are kind of lost, from my understanding, a lunar cycle is more bearish, and a solar cycle is more bullish. We are currently in a solar cycle. I think you said we began that, if I'm not mistaken, in April of this year.
Correct. Yeah. And we're going to be in it until March of 2025.
Yeah, I was saying sometime early 2025 is what I remember.
Yeah.
So, and you can still be in a technical bear market with bull rallies in a solar cycle. It doesn't have to just be number go up
Yeah. It's
constantly.
not that black and white. Yeah.
Right.
And also remember, Bitcoin, if we're going to isolate that project, it's in a forever bull run. It's never,
If you want to be
it's never
technical,
broken
yeah.
macro structure. It's
Right.
never broken macro structure. As a technical analyst, without my emotions being involved, it's the best performing asset of all time. It's always in a bull run. It has yet to invalidate that. End of story. Until Bitcoin breaks below $3,000, it's in a forever bull run.
I appreciate the
Anyways,
wolf pack that are in the house, and I encourage people, if they haven't smashed that like button, take an opportunity and make sure you're subscribed over at Waters Above. If you're not familiar, the link's in the video description. Continue,
and
my
for
friend.
anyone who's new to this whole like full moon, new moon thing, this is the easiest chart to prove how it works. Every white dot is a full moon, every blue dot is a new moon, and you could see the trend. From full moon into new moon, we move up. From new moon into full moon, we move down. From full moon into new moon, up, over and over and over and over and over and over again, forever. Every all-time high is on a new moon. Every all-time low is on a full moon. It's never been different. No one needs to overthink this anymore.
Somebody said I'm out, so I was like, deuces. No, man, I think this is really intriguing because we've talked about it every time you come on. There's just so much happening. And it just like, it's kind of like I'm unsure of where we're at. Like, I did not see Bitcoin being in the kind of rally and in the price position that it's been the majority of this year. That's really surprised me.
Well, Jubilee year, that's a huge thing. Comes around once every 50 years. We just made it through one. And
Yeah.
I think that's a big kind of story to tell. But if you look at the timing of the last cycle, when this relief rally came in, it came in much sooner than the one that we're looking at today. So if we were to take measuring off the bottom to the end of this relief rally, it was under 200 days. If we measured from our bottom, it's been over a year. 400 days. So it's taken longer to enter this energy. And if we go from this one, technically your bottom is here because this was an invalid. This again is very similar to like the C19 crash. But if you were to go here to the same measurement, top of that rally, it was 520 days. Go over here, go from bottom to the top of that same rally, 272 days, more in alignment with what we're dealing with today. So all this extended cycle theory and all this stuff, like it's kind of irrelevant. Like Bitcoin, you just need to focus on lunar cycle and solar cycle. And if you could focus there, then you're going to have much more, you're going to be much more accurate about this whole thing. But consider that 273-day thing and how, we're more like that, I think, regarding when we started this breakout right over there. That was really phase one of the bull run. I think if we were to phase this all out, you would have rejection, rejection, back test. This double top gets back tested twice, prior resistance flips as support. And once you broke your local tops, that's, you can't deny that's a bull run now. That's just how it goes. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
when you have that much sideways, 520 days
so
getting
many people have
rejected.
different definitions of what it is to say that we're in a technical bull market. People say we have to. Some people say we have to break the previous all-time high. It does look like we are in a bull market if you look at things, but from a traditional standpoint, it doesn't seem like, I didn't think that we should be where we are. I guess I've just become jaded, man. This whole roller coaster ride that we've been on is can make some people jaded a little bit, and I think that crypto's done that to me.
Yeah, well, also I think when you're covering it so frequently, you know, like it's the same thing I go through. Like every week I'm looking at 15 charts. So it's like,
And maybe I'm
yeah.
just mad at myself for not buying around that 15, 16K price, 17K price, and I'm just
Yeah,
like
no, who cares? I
hoping I
mean,
have that opportunity again. But then it's like, then you're comparing like apples to oranges, because if you if people are calling for Bitcoin to go up to $500,000 or $1 million per Bitcoin by the end of this next cycle, let's say that's, then buying it anywhere between now and where we were is a steal, if you
yeah.
think about it in that regards.
Yeah, and I mean,
But
you
we're
want to
always
think
trying
about
to
it.
get that lowest possible price and get as much profit as possible. And um but I'm watching things, and I kind of feel I like the fact of what you're saying, because so far, like the last time that you came on a couple months ago was right before a week or two, I believe, before the October solar eclipse that we had.
Oh, cool.
And you were spot on. You were spot on, to the point that my boy Crypto Blood was talking about your information and having the solar eclipse. I believe it was a solar eclipse. Well, we had a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse in October, correct?
Yep.
And I think
We
it was after the lunar eclipse, you were calling for the market to go up. And I'm just paraphrasing it, simplifying it. And we did. We followed the suit, just like on point. Just
pretty
like
much my main call of the year on Bitcoin was 40K before the end of the year. That was like my main thing that I said like maybe 8 months ago. And I felt pretty confident in that because of the fact that we were moving into a solar cycle.
right.
And by the second solar eclipse of a solar cycle, we've had some pretty bullish energy. And that was what was so crazy for a lot of people, was once we had that solar eclipse on October 14th, the market just went up. Yeah,
No, it
like for
did.
across the board, like pretty
No,
much just went up. Even for the stock market, it started to recover from
everything.
that moment. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Gold hit
So,
an all-time high.
yeah. And it's like, I just want people to realize, like, it's not my opinion. Like, I'm not trying to be the guy that's right or wrong. I know we talked about this on the last interview too. Like, I'm not trying to take credit for this. Like, I just discovered that there's something that moves this market, and it's not the news. It's not your opinion. It's not your emotions. Like, it's the sun and the moon.
Right. You can't, they're there. It's part of life.
Yeah. And it's part of, and,
it affects
and whether
everything.
you
It
believe it or
affects
not, it is
animals,
what
it
it
affects
is.
the water. So yeah, but it's phenomenal. I told you, the shit blew my mind when you started explaining to me about how these things affect the market and the way that it's worked out. It's just insane, man. This is why people should take a lot more seriousness in this topic of, I call it astro crypto, esoteric crypto.
Mm-hmm.
But be careful about who you're listening to. Like Jordan is obviously very well versed in what he does. That's why I enjoy having these conversations. So, question for you is: we have the next total solar eclipse on April the 8th taking place. How is that going to play out? Well, if you've got something you're showing, I'll wait for you to answer that.
Oh, what was your question? I'll talk about it in a moment.
Well, how do you think the markets are going to react for a total solar eclipse during a solar cycle, right before a Bitcoin halving?
Great question. Yeah, I love this because I'm like, that's my most exciting time of the year because we have the Bitcoin halving, we have Satoshi's birthday, and we
My
have
birthday is April 29th too, so we got to
oh
include
shit.
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. So essentially, um, we need to go back and look at how past solar eclipses were. So I'll get back to this gold chart later. I think that's less important. We're going to only focus on for a moment the third solar eclipse of the prior cycles. Luckily, I have them all mapped out. We're going to go to the first cycle. Oh, by the way, we're moving into the year of the dragon. So I think this 2012 to 2013 moment is super valuable for us to
It's
consider.
also
That's just adding in another element to all of this. But
speaking of
sorry?
elements, it's a wood dragon, right?
Yeah, I believe.
Which
I don't
I don't
pay
know what the importance of the wood and the other different significations that he used for the different um, symbols that represent for the years. So
Yeah,
if
there is a
somebody knows,
little
let me
bit of
know.
significant, but it's less important than realizing what the symbolism of the dragon or any of these zodiac symbols are in and of itself, and then tying it back to some other system, whether that be Babylonian, Canaanite, or Greek, Roman mythology. Like, you need to be able to tie that back to something because the whole wood dragon or the whole lucky numbers or the lucky colors and all that stuff that they're giving you, that's very exoteric and it's not going to provide you any value as a decoder. It's like looking at a typical zodiac or sorry, when you're looking at your horoscope. It's like
Right, right.
it's not really giving you anything.
It's
And,
generic.
right.
And
So
you're
getting
with the year of the dragon. This is all Chinese zodiac, correct?
correct. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Anyways, I don't want people to get too lost in that for right now. I'm just showing you that we're adding in all these layers here. Like we're not just taking one thing into account. Needless to say, we have moving from this second solar eclipse and the halving up to this third solar eclipse. Given this was when Bitcoin was like an infant and there was really no altcoins around at this time. So I don't want us to give too much, attention to this necessarily because there was way more opportunity for price discovery and it was way more speculative. Now it's not speculative. They're
No.
talking about ETF approvals. We're past speculation.
Yeah, we are
So
definitely past that point.
with here, you can see there's something a little bit different where our second solar eclipse and halving was in this orientation where it happened super close to each other. And then over here, we actually had the halving before the second solar eclipse. So that is a little bit different. That is obviously different. But this how close they are is what's similar. Okay. Then we have bullish into the third solar eclipse. Obviously, this was insanely bullish into the third solar eclipse. Then over here, this is where things start to get a little weird and where you have invalidations, you have things that you need to consider and reasoning why. You have your second solar eclipse, you had your C19 crash, but then look, by the third solar eclipse, you were technically higher. So at the second solar eclipse, Bitcoin was at 7,000. At the third solar eclipse, it was at 9,000. This was your anomaly, and you had your halving coming in before. What I think it's more important to think about is the relation to the halving and how we have 50 days before halvings is typically really solid buying opportunity for Bitcoin. So if we were to take 50 days before where this halving is predicted to be, it would be like the February full moon of 2024. So that's kind of like just one thing to lay on people. We have right here, I think the halving should be in like the third week of April or so. Again, this is subject to change, This is blockchain rewards. But yeah, it brings you into very early March, late February, when we would be in that moment of a good buying opportunity before the cycle just continues up more. And because that's in alignment with the third solar eclipse, and we could see that every third solar eclipse, we're at least trading higher than where we were on the second solar eclipse. That's kind of giving me a feeling that, well, where was our second solar eclipse daily close? It was at 27K Bitcoin. So no matter what theatrics we do between now and the April solar eclipse, we should at least be higher than 28K.
And what is a 40% correction from our current top?
Well, if we were to mark the top today, and let's just say Bitcoin did not go its full move and a 40% correction was to happen, that would bring us into pretty much where we were on the day of the solar eclipse,
Okay.
27K.
And we more than likely, based off of, and this is just speculative, we more than likely will be higher. So we should see a higher price than just an even out.
Yeah, I mean, anything below 30K Bitcoin is like a gift from God. At this point,
Okay.
right? Like, I mean, when we have a decade of data showing us this, and I mean, it's just the one thing I want to talk about with Bitcoin really quickly is you're betting on the winning horse, like when it comes to ROI and when it comes to comparatively to traditional assets. Like we're talking about the stock market or 401ks or any of that stuff. Like,
Blue chip.
yeah, like you have a lot more ROI opportunity, and then it's the safest because it's never been out of a bull run from its origin, from its genesis. So, of course, with altcoins, you can make way more money, but you have to de-risk 100% because it leads to a 95 to 99% correction, right? Bitcoin doesn't do that. So we should always think about de-risking along the way, right? And this is why for me, with my Bitcoin bag that I have and the buying that I was doing earlier this year, I'm going to be de-risking this moment, but it's just to accumulate more Satoshis. So the idea for me to de-risk around like the 48 to 51K territory is to buy back in on that 40% correction, the same amount that I'm de-risking to build the bag. Because what's really exciting is a year out from today. That's when Bitcoin should definitely be in price discovery. It should be above 70K. As for any 500K plus targets, that's not my analysis. That's a little bit overheated, but I'm
I was
sure.
just throwing out absurd numbers like
Yeah,
everybody else does. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
I should have just said 10 million.
Yeah, Bitcoin's going to 10 million.
Well, that's the thing is like when we get to that point, if we get to that point, $10 million or even $1 million isn't going to be what it is even today.
Sure.
We're going to be looking at a situation that would be comparable to Zimbabwe or
Yeah.
Venezuela with hyperinflation, where the U.S. dollar is worth practically nothing, which is why that was the reason why John McAfee was making that absurd bet about eating his penis, because Bitcoin would hit $1 million per coin. I think it was by the end of 2020 or something like that. I can't remember the specific year. Real quick, I want to highlight something that somebody said that I thought was hilarious. Jackson LeMay said, "Do you think that we have any correlation to No Nut November and the extra testosterone, meaning we're more bullish?"
Yeah, that's a goat. That's the goat comment right there.
Yeah, I just thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All the guys didn't have anything to blow steam off on,
Or
so
like
they just
No
did the
Shave
micro
November. Is that another one? Novembeard.
Novembeard. I never heard that.
Yeah, No Shave November.
You have a mighty huge beard, from what I understand.
Sometimes.
A gnarly kind of mountain man beard, but we can.
Yeah, I'll let everyone imagine that I'm a mountain man. That's
what I think of you as. I think of you as like a life size Paul Bunyan.
Oh shit! Yeah, Paul was a homie.
You kind of remind me of a Paul Bunyan.
Yeah, right on. a nerd Paul Bunyan.
I'd like to get your thoughts. I know we're going to be limited. I know you said we can go about an hour and 15. We're at roughly the 48-minute mark. Do you mind kind of getting into a little bit of other cryptocurrencies? I know that you have been talking a lot about XRP. Do you mind sharing a little information on that?
Sure.
And maybe getting to Ethereum and anything else that you may feel the desire to share. Sure. And I hope people were entertained with that little bit of blurb there. Jason seemed to be.
So with XRP and with most altcoins, we definitely want to pay attention to this daily RSI when it starts to get above 85. And every time that it starts to get into this like 88 to 92 region, we typically have pullbacks and then they reset. And when they reset, we hold higher lows. So that's really cool, like for people who just want to be simple as swing traders. And what we saw back here with XRP, this sort of energy and the way that it came right back down, like this Bart Simpson head pattern. Well, this is a pattern that has played out before, and it's right back here. So I could give people the play-by-play on this and kind of give you my thoughts on why I feel XRP is about to go to $1, potentially $1.30. So this rally we had right there, flare airdrop stuff, and then Crown Top came right back down because of the SEC coming after Ripple, the start of that lawsuit. Then we held on this structure before a recovery back to the same exact levels. And what's really interesting about this was at the start of the case. Like we were supposed to be bearish. But again, when Bitcoin was moving up, like Bitcoin was already at all-time highs by this point. It brings up all the other altcoins with it. So I was seeing this whole structure play out. And I mean, I could get a little bit more technical. I'll bring up this one moving average so you could kind of see why I was feeling this way. It's everything to do with the 34 exponential on the 3-day chart.
Okay.
So we have this move up, come back, break below this red moving average. Then we come back to it, rejected, make a W, and then we break above it. So here we get above it, break through it, get up, rejection, make a W, break above it. Then we come up perfectly into the new moon of that month. And we're going to show you right here. We topped out on the new moon, traded into the full moon. So we have here, we literally topped out on the new moon, traded into the full moon. And then out of that, we actually kind of held our structure, but we were sideways for a moment. And we were sideways about as many days as we were here before we retested the prior fractal highs. Then we moved up. So this is a very awkward, choppy, dramatic, not so fun roller coaster, literally. But that's what it seems that XRP is currently doing. And this breakout is timed to happen probably by the first week of January, about a month out. And that would be bringing us into this range of about $20, $40 based on these highs. If we were to start closing higher than that, that'd be incredible. But for right now, we need that money to come from somewhere. And the idea about Bitcoin going up to like 50K potentially and then rebalancing its dominance actually makes a lot of sense. That XRP is a lagging project, would scoop up some of that liquidity, make a little run, and it would just be a speculative kind of moment.
Well, you have a video, and I haven't had a chance to watch it, but again, make sure you guys are subscribed to Waters Above. If you're not, links in the video description. But the video, you talk about final warning for XRP under $1. When are you calling for that moment that we will never see XRP below $1?
Well, I mean, I really feel like it has.
And
a
I'm
lot
not
to do
asking,
with,
obviously, when I ask you these things, I'm not asking for a day and a time. I'm just asking for kind of a generalization, if you could.
Yeah. So the whole purpose of that video is really to let people know that this is about as low as we get. Like this is a really good sub-dollar level to be at. Like when we're thinking about 50 cent or lower, that's out of the cards right now. Like being around 60 cents, and this has been something I've been warning people about for the whole last 5 months at least. It's about getting in as low as it really you can without having to deal with as much volatility, because we have these arduous sideways choppy ranges that are lasting multiple months sometimes. Here we had about 2 months in the low. Here we had about 2 months plus in these lows. So we just keep going up more and more and more and more and stair stepping when it comes to these corrections. So that's first and foremost. When do I feel like XRP is going to hold $1 for a long period of time?
Hold the line.
Hold the
Well,
line at $1?
yeah.
It never has. So with that being said, it would just be me speculating. Remember, as a technical analyst, I need to use the charts. And otherwise, that's just me being emotional or injecting my opinion. But if I have to be
Right.
opinionated for a moment and share my thoughts, I think it has a lot to do with us seeing Bitcoin price discovery. So it will take most likely until Bitcoin breaks above 70,000 for us to not have to deal with this sub $1 level for XRP. But as long as Bitcoin's staying in this area, the way that this market moves holistically, yeah, I think we could see a move up soon to $1.20, $1.30, and then come right back down to 80 cents. So
Okay.
we can see an 80 cent or 70 cent XRP in the summertime. We could definitely see that kind of move where we make it up to above $1, get back to $1, break again. And yeah, this coin just does this. It's very pumpy dumpy. Like that's the nature of this project. It's a trader's coin for people who are more into trading. This is where it's at. Anyone who has my advanced trading course and has been utilizing that with all those strategies and those Wyckoff schematics that I give you. And I mean, you could have had an incredibly profitable year just playing the swings on this one, because it does the same thing every time. It pops up, crown top, Bart head sideways, Bart top sideways, Bart over and over and over again. It's been doing it since pretty much the dawn of time. You could keep seeing this pattern. It's about building positions when it's boring, though. And then the XRP community is so big on Twitter and YouTube and all of that stuff that it brings in even more emotion. And then those people who are influenced later by tops. So yeah, I'm just speaking the truth right now of like why this project has this energy. It's because the retail investor doesn't really hold this thing. They're not accumulating and they're not holding it as much as they like to say they are. And if they were, we would see it in the charts. But as of now, we're seeing a move up and it comes right back down.
Love it. I love it. Do you mind us taking a look at Ethereum? And the other one I did want to look at, I think people were mentioning, was Chainlink.
Okay. Yeah.
Chainlink, there's a lot of speculation that Chainlink could be the next potential spot ETF that these TradFi institutions try to apply for. Based off, yeah.
I mean, it already had partnerships with Microsoft going back to like 2019.
Well, I'm talking about a spot ETF being introduced. You know, now that we're seeing Ethereum spot ETF being applied for, the next people are questioning, because there was a fake news of XRP, an XRP one coming out. So, but the speculation with Chainlink kind of makes a lot of sense, being where, you know, who Chainlink is partners with inside of crypto and outside of crypto. One of the big ones, which I'm not a big supporter of, same thing with Ripple and XRP, is they've partnered up with Swift to update the Swift system utilizing Chainlink.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a lot going on with Link, and I think that the price action shows. But getting into this Ethereum chart, we can clearly see that the rally has continued. We had a effective double top vibe going on between this August top and this April slight higher high bull trap, and we could definitely call it one because it led to a correction of 30% or so that lasted almost 200 days. So that was a half a year of having to deal with lower highs, lower lows over and over again until we've pivoted out. And of course, the pivot was right at the solar eclipse. So now that we're in this energy right now, from a technical perspective, it does seem that we're getting close to a level where it would align with the breakout on Bitcoin ending very soon. And these are two projects that do move in synchronicity. As opposed to when we look at more speculative projects, like stuff that's like 50 rank market cap to like move and onward, that stuff can move in isolation because it's just feeding off of like, the table scraps after the fact. But ETH and Bitcoin do pretty much move in harmony. So we have a major trend line, which I feel is pretty spot on. Again, I'm not like a huge trend lines guy unless I have a lot of data to work with. So like right here, we have, 500 days of data. That's an effective breakout. Here now, we had these supports over and over, and then a break of that support. And now this has been the first time that we've really touched on this level. So if we're going to overextend above this, we need to zoom out and look at this fib level right here. So this is the cycle high down to the cycle low. And we have broken above the 0.5 fib and we're heading into the golden pocket. What Bitcoin did like a week and a half ago. I don't know if ETH can make it up to the 702 or the 786. We just don't have the data. We only have one real cycle to work with here. So again, as a technical analyst, I can't really tell you that we have some moment in the past where it's done this, because we've effectively cleared the 0.5 fib in the last cycle. We barely cleared it, and then it led to, it took us all the way until 2020 to get higher. Right now, we're looking pretty damn good. This ETH chart is looking incredible considering all of their altcoins.
It looks like a snake poised.
Yeah, when we look at the pullback, it was only about 80%. That's pretty fucking incredible. And we look at the buyback from the range lows, which we could kind of confirm is around $1,100. We're up 100%. So that's pretty damn good. I think Bitcoin might be outperforming ETH though right now. And that would also not be weird technically because Bitcoin does that in the start
as of now,
phase one of a bull run.
I don't think Ethereum has had as much of a pullback just in the past day or so as Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's had more of a pullback.
Yeah, recently, and that has everything to do with it catching up. So that's kind of like we're in the balance.
Bitcoin's a little overheated.
Correct. So yeah, when it comes to ETH in the short term, from a technical perspective, we do want to look at the bottom of this golden pocket. That's a level that tends to get rejected when we have a overextended bull rally, or sorry, I should call it a bull trap. That is awkward though, because that could lead to a dead cat bounce. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I don't really project a repeat of this C19 style crash to happen in our cycle. Is it possible? Of course, anything's possible in the Matrix, but I think this was very isolated to that 2020 year. In 2024, the thing we have is war narratives and election. I think war is bullish for crypto, specifically crypto, not for the stock market, but for crypto, because that's always how it's been. Whenever we have those moments where the traditional financial system isn't working out because of stuff happening with conflict, they will go to an alternative system. And that was
Right.
what we saw happen with the Russia-Ukraine conflict. It was super bullish for Bitcoin at that time.
Well, I
We
think it
saw
also
after
be
the start of this war with Israel, you look at the charts after October 7th, and we've been moving up even in the stock market in a straight line. So, yeah.
yeah. I was going to add that I think that gold and silver and just equity, not commodities in general, will see a lot of upward action.
Sure. Yeah. And here we have Chainlink.
Stanky Lank.
With the link move, it happened a little bit too fast, too soon. We got pretty overextended on our RSI. We were making it up to that 80, 88. Oh, actually, yeah, we only got to about 86 before rejection. That's a little bit healthier. But again, when we're talking crypto, we look at extremes in the data. In the stock market, you rarely see an 88 RSI on the daily, unless we're at the top. So with this move right here, this is a textbook Wyckoff automatic rally. And what's really nice about this breakout is if you look at how sideways Link was before it broke out, it was effectively getting rejected at this top side, slightly below this 236 fib for 530 days. So look at the bottoming structure of Link, and then look at the bottoming structure of ETH. We're going to put this on the daily, turn off all this, restart, and you're going to see. Look at the bottoming structure difference between these two projects. This has been low, higher low, higher low, higher low for pretty much since it bottomed for 500 days, whilst this was trapped sideways and making lower lows.
Yeah, I see that.
For 500 days. They're not synchronized at all. You know, this was a boring retail only coin until right around here. Some institutional money clearly got injected. And then this had a FOMO rally. Once it broke that 0.382, that was when retail started getting in after it gets exciting. And with the way that this project likes to move, we see that in this prior cycle, again, very limited data. But when we go off of this fib swing high to swing low, we got right below the 618 before a big rejection. And what I want you to note is the rejection came into the 236 fib. So if Link was to move up a little bit more, we have room to mimic what we did in the last cycle. That would be about $20, $21 Link. And then we could still pull back all the way below $10 again. That's very possible for Link. Very possible. So I want people to be aware that when you break out like this, there's thin air below you when there's no trading range built. That's why I'm holding off on Link personally. I'll be patient. I'll wait till about a year from today. I think it'll still be sorry, not a year from today. In the summertime of next year, I think it'll pretty much be still an opportunity. But right now, it's looking a little overheated for me.
No, that makes sense. It does. I mean, it's if you're thinking that we're going to have a pullback in Bitcoin in the next week or two, then obviously that's going to bring the rest of the markets down as well. So that makes sense.
Yeah, and anything that's overextended like this, it's most likely going to have a deeper correction than something that is not overextended. Like, for instance, H-bar. This is not the same chart as Chainlink. Chainlink would be trading up here. H-bar is still below the 236. So when people look at charts, this is what I teach in my Crypto Mastermind course. For anyone who wants to be able to know this stuff, the moment you look at a chart, this is it. Like, you'll know what's going to balance and what's going to take a deeper correction, what has more opportunity to the upside. This will help you be a better investor, believe it or not. Because what happens is people do the opposite. They start getting invested in shit like Solana right now, after it's already had a 400% move to the upside.
Right, but that's
like,
what people do.
Right.
That's what people do. The majority of people buy at the tops. They're the
Right.
exit liquidity.
But I look at Hedera and I'm salivating because you see this sideways 550 days. That's exactly what Chainlink did before it went boom. So you want to get in on
Interesting you
this.
mentioned Hedera.
You want to get in on. I'm not telling people what to do. By the way, it's not
No, no,
financial
you're just sharing.
advice.
You're
It's not
sharing what
investment advice.
makes you
This
salivate,
is
man.
this is how I invest. Like I'm not interested in IOTA right now. Like this is not this type of pumpy dumpy move is not interesting to me. Now when we
No,
zoom
that's
out, I want you
that.
to I want you to see why I don't care about this pump. This is the C19 levels. This thing is only trading 80% above the
There was
C19
some
level.
news that came
Let's
out
go to
recently, but this project is pretty much like an old school old coin that really hasn't done much. And people aren't really talking about Internet of Things with blockchain anymore.
sure. I just want people to know that if you look at the top gainers last week, you were going to keep seeing IOTA. I'm sure YouTubers were coming out making videos about it. And like what I see when I zoom out is this thing's only 80% up from the C19 crash. Bitcoin is up 640%.
It's a big difference.
It's a huge difference. I mean,
Huge.
what are we even looking at here? There's no
Uh,
price discovery. It had a
that I would
lower
call that a
high.
shit coin, my friend.
It does. It's, I mean, no offense. And I get that it's ISO 222 compliant and all that stuff, but this is a shitcoin chart.
It's
And
a
I
shit
get it.
coin.
People get mad at me when I say this because they're going to be like, you don't know. You
If
haven't
it looks like
watched
a
the.
shit coin and it
Yeah.
smells like a shit coin,
Yeah. This is a
it must
shitcoin
be.
chart.
It
But is
must
it an
be.
opportunity? If you were to think, if this thing does what a Wyckoff schematic does, this is why this is what's going to separate me from a lot of people. I could call this thing a shitcoin and still invest in it better than most people because I'm aware of how it moves. If
Right.
it's going over this level, the odds are if it pulls back here, it's most likely going to be the lowest it ever gets. So there's an opportunity here. If I was to be buying in this range around 25 cents and we just got up to the automatic rally level, that's 1,000% up. Okay.
Okay.
So you can play the shitcoin game if you want, just learn how
Yeah.
to play it.
If
That's
you
what I want to teach people. Like there's
take
nothing
the
wrong with
emotion
these.
out,
Exactly. Take the
that's the important
tribalism
thing.
out too.
Right, because otherwise I would be like, why would I want to mess with IOTA? But if you're looking at this from a non-emotional, just purely profit-driven standpoint, you got to go with
Precisely.
the technicals. You got to go where the signs are pointing at yes. Is
Precisely.
there any other projects aside from Hedera that's making you salivate,
You know, like I do think
making your mouth moist? I know
I
everybody
do
loves that
think
word,
there's a couple
moist.
opportunities. I think this play on Cosmos has a chance. I was building a little bit about around this 9 level because I see that the SOS is more than likely the next move, and the timing of that all is leading into about 6 months away. So plenty of opportunity there, in my opinion, and also kind of in the conversation of the ISO compliance stuff. But look at the difference between this and IOTA. We have our C19 supports down here at about $2. This thing's up 300 to 400%. So it's a much, like, I feel more confident putting in a reasonable amount of money into this.
Right.
Another thing is Aave. Even though Aave is had one of the best bull runs in the past cycle. I mean, look at this. This shit makes my my eyes fall out of my head. This went up 140,000%.
140. Wow, that's
Yeah.
insane.
So like do the math. You know, you put $1,000 in this thing and like, yeah,
Yeah,
you
now I
weren't
know why
complaining.
one of my friends moved to Puerto Rico and kind of semi-retired.
So if I was to, this will be the last thing I share because then it would just get too long here. But I want to show you this sideways range that we have on Aave because what we saw with Chainlink is pretty similar. We had this really long, you know, almost 2-year horizontal range trapped at these lows, and then once Chainlink broke out, it got straight to the 0.5. This thing has a crazy performance in the past though, and it tells me that that's venture capital. And yeah, with venture capital, you go into it thinking that you'll lose it all, right? You go into venture capital saying this could go to zero and it won't make me upset. So that's how I look at plays like this. You know, retesting all-time high, I got about 500%, and then with the average price discovery, you're looking up to this 1618. I mean, if it can make it all the way up to that level, then congratulations. You know, it was a sick play. If it goes to zero, I don't care because I put so little in it that it doesn't even matter. But if you played the venture capital game with this thing back in the last cycle, you were glad you did. And I feel like when you see that type of performance, you can't sleep on this stuff because it's not a meme. This is not Shiba Inu. It's a totally different ball game. It doesn't need influencers and Elon Musk and all these other people to make it do what it did. You feel me? I
Right.
don't want to get involved in projects because there's some like guy behind it that makes it go up. But yeah, with this, you got about a 3,000% gain to the upside. And considering that was just the move that this did probably right here. Yeah, look, about 2,000%. The
Nice.
parabolic move on this could definitely get us into the 1618. That would be where I would be looking. And then, yeah, I feel like that's a beautiful play. And I'm banking on a chart that has really solid, performance in the past.
Awesome, man. Well, dude, I really appreciate you taking the time to come back on the show before the end of the year. I'm glad we had this conversation, and we definitely got to get something scheduled for. Um, I'd like to get 2 more in before the total solar eclipse. So we'll talk about that. Maybe do
Yeah,
one end
maybe
of
we could connect in
January,
February.
February. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, maybe reconnect in February. That'd be
and then
good. I have a
early
lot going on
April, end
between
of
now.
March.
Yeah, I have a lot going on between now and January with this new course that's coming out. So I need to
And we got the
definitely focus on that.
holidays. We get the
Yeah.
holidays. I'm sure the mountain man has to hang out with his family.
No, yeah, I actually
We got a
made a
blue
commitment.
ox around, right?
I made a commitment to the family to see them on Thanksgiving. It's not a holiday I celebrate, but they do. But I was able to go visit my grandma and mom, and it was beautiful to be able to spend some time and not look at these charts. But what was going on in the market made it so busy for me that, yeah.
I love it, man. Well, I'm glad you got to spend time with family, and hopefully you'll get to do that over the next coming weeks.
Hmm.
I definitely look forward to reconnecting, and I'm going to have links down below for the playlist with our previous conversations with your YouTube channel. I encourage people, if they're not subscribed, to make sure they head over and subscribe. Again, it's going to be in the video description, and I'll put it in the pinned comment as well as Jordan Waters Above website, which you can find at watersabove.com. You got any final thoughts? Anything else you want to add to the conversation before we wrap up, my friend?
No, man. I've had an amazing time communicating with you. We've talked about so much. There's plenty of notes people could have taken today. And
Yeah,
for anyone who invests in any of my art, I really appreciate you. I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for you, brother. Looking forward to reconnecting in a
likewise.
couple months.
Likewise. Well, thank you again for your time, my friend. I'm going to go ahead and close out the live stream. I wish you a great weekend, and we'll definitely connect soon, man. Much love.
Of course, much love.
Happy holidays to you and your family.
You too, brother.
All right. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in for today's live stream. Again, it's been about a month since I've live streamed. I encourage people to make sure that they're checking out some of the previous content that I've been releasing, because unfortunately, YouTube hasn't, been notifying people. They're not suggesting my videos. I'm basically shadow banned, which makes things very unfortunate. I do stream on other platforms. We are live streaming right now on Rumble. I have links for all my channels down below. You can visit my website at ricetvx.com. You can actually watch both of my YouTube channels there directly on my homepage, Rice Crypto and Rice Against the Grain. You'll find links for all my social media. And if you'd like to join me on the private side and check out Rice Uncensored, where I'm replacing my Patreon, you get access to both of my channels, early access to videos, no ads, unedited, exclusive content. I've got a forum for members. You have direct access to me. Check out this channel promo before we wrap things up. If you have not taken an opportunity to smash that like button, I would greatly appreciate if you would give a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble. Again, make sure you're subscribed here at Rice Crypto and my other channel, Rice Against the Grain, as well as Jordan's awesome YouTube channel, Waters Above. Links are all down below in the video description. Before we wrap things up, before we go to this channel promo and end today's video, I encourage you, as always, be a blessing to others. Treat people how you want to be treated. Be the glitch that you want to see in this matrix. Be the change that you want to see in the world. Be sure to catch up on my content. I got some videos that are over on Rumble, Odyssey, and BitChute that you will not find on YouTube. And until next time, practice change. Don't forget to visit ricetvx.com, where you can watch both of my YouTube channels, Rice Crypto and Rice Against the Grain, directly. Find all of my social media links, Sign up for my mailing list and become a member of Rice Uncensored, where you can join me on the private side for less than $0.25 a day. You will get early access to both Rice Crypto and Rice Against the Grain, ad-free, unedited videos, exclusive content, members-only forum with direct access to me, live streams, and more to come, only at ricetvx.com.